The courtroom was shrouded in darkness, broken only by the sharp, echoing sound of a wooden gavel striking the bench. 1, 2, 3 times, like the heartbeat of a man facing his fate. Each strike reverberated through the silence, cold and deliberate. Then a trembling, agitated voice sliced through the stillness, filling the air with accusation. A faint light flickered on, casting a dim glow over rows of packed seats. The crowd murmured, heads turning, eyes fixated on a tall, lean figure standing at the center of it all. It was Elon Musk, his piercing eyes glinting with an enigmatic mix of defiance and mystery, unshaken by the weight of the charges bearing down on him. He stood there, a solitary pillar amidst a storm of scrutiny, his presence commanding despite the chaos brewing around him. This was no ordinary trial. Titan Corp, a towering tech conglomerate, had launched a bombshell lawsuit, accusing Elon, the man once hailed as humanity's savior, of stealing their revolutionary lithium-ion battery technology worth billions. Behind the suite stood Victor Stahl, a ruthless billionaire who had once been Elon's closest friend before becoming his bitterest enemy. Stahl sat at the plaintiff's bench, his slicked-back hair gleaming under the lights, his tailored black suit exuding wealth and menace, his lips curled into a triumphant smirk, his eyes burning with the certainty of victory. The light caught Elon's face, highlighting his sharp features and the faint, cryptic half-smile that flickered across his lips. Not fear, but a chilling confidence. He slowly removed his sunglasses, setting them on the table with a soft clack that silenced the room. Outside, the mob roared, waving signs that screamed, "Liar!" and "Justice for Titan Corp." Reporters jostled for position, microphones thrust forward, camera flashes erupting in a blinding frenzy, as if the light itself sought to tear apart the secrets hidden within these walls. The judge, an older man with silver hair and hands gripping the gavel tightly, fought to maintain order. He pounded the bench again, harder this time, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease, as if he, too, sensed something extraordinary was about to unfold. At the plaintiff's table, Stahl leaned forward, whispering to his lawyer with a venomous grin, his words barely audible but dripping with malice. He believed Elon was finished, that his empire would crumble under this assault. But Elon remained unshaken. He stepped closer to the witness stand, hands in his pockets, his demeanor as casual as if he were strolling across the surface of Mars. The crowd fell silent, millions watching live on television holding their breath. He paused, turning to face Stahl, their gazes locking, one blazing with fury, the other cold as ice. Then, without warning, Elon raised a small USB drive, its metallic surface glinting under the courtroom lights. Stahl lurched forward, his face paling. The judge hammered the gavel repeatedly, but no one listened, the world's attention fixed on Elon and the secret he was about to unveil. The courtroom flickered under a pale, wavering light, the chandeliers high above trembling as if stirred by an unseen wind, casting dancing shadows across the aged wooden walls. The air hung heavy, suffocating, as if the entire world held its breath, anticipating an explosion, not of dynamite, but of truth, a force capable of shaking everything within these walls and far beyond. The tiny USB drive in Elon Musk's hand glinted under the glow, a precious gem harboring secrets potent enough to topple not just a man, but an empire built on lies. The crowd sat in a silence so deep that their ragged breaths echoed, eyes wide, fists clenched, sweat beading on taut faces like strings about to snap. Victor Stahl, perched at the plaintiff's bench, could no longer maintain the polished calm he'd always worn, the calm of a man certain he held all the cards. He shot to his feet, his face flushed red as if slapped hard, hands trembling uncontrollably, yet his eyes betrayed a raw panic he couldn't mask. He knew, or feared he knew, what rested in Elon's grip, what could annihilate him in an instant, erasing every ambition and shred of reputation he'd painstakingly crafted. The judge, an older man with disheveled silver hair from countless futile gavel strikes, finally spoke, His voice rasped like sand grinding under a wheel, carrying the weight of someone dragged into a maelstrom he could neither control nor fully comprehend. Another sharp rap of the gavel rang out, fiercer, more resolute, as if to shatter the chaos rippling through the room, but it only underscored his powerlessness against what was about to unfold. Elon stepped toward the witness stand, his polished black shoes clicking rhythmically on the worn wooden floor, each step a drumbeat signaling the war to come. He carried no papers, no lawyer by his side, just himself, tall and gaunt, shoulders slightly hunched as if bearing the weight of the world, his face a mix of exhaustion and resolve, like a soldier seasoned by unrelenting battles. Outside, the crowd's roars pierced the thick walls, crashing like waves against stone. "Liar! Justice for Titan Corp!" Signs waved high, arms flailed, and the relentless flash of reporters' cameras painted a blinding white curtain, as if light itself sought to rip apart the mysteries cloaked within. This wasn't just a courtroom, it was an arena, a coliseum where the fates of men, companies, and dreams would be decided. The dark wooden walls, witnesses to hundreds of trials, seemed to hum with the crowd's breathing. Rows of seats brimmed with spectators, from investors in tailored suits to ordinary citizens crammed in to glimpse history unfolding. Reporters, pens and recorders in hand, jostled in the back, their eyes gleaming like hungry wolves stalking a scoop. And at the center of it all stood Elon, alone, armed with nothing but the tiny USB in his hand, a seemingly insignificant object, yet one wielding power enough to change everything. Titan Corp struck first, and it was a devastating blow, meticulously prepared like a military assault. Their lawyer, a middle-aged man with gold-rimmed glasses and thin lips perpetually pursed, stepped forward, clutching a thick stack of documents like a weapon forged for destruction. He stood tall, shoulders broad, his piercing gaze sweeping the room as if to dominate it before he even spoke. When he began, his voice cut through the air like a blade, each word an arrow aimed straight at Elon's heart. "We have evidence, hacked emails from Tesla's internal systems, detailed technical blueprints copied from our secret archives, and sworn testimony from a former Tesla engineer, all proving that Elon Musk stole Titan Corp's next-generation lithium-ion battery technology. This technology, worth billions, is the backbone of Tesla's meteoric rise over the past decade. Elon Musk isn't the genius he claims to be. He's a fraud, a thief masquerading as an innovator, a man who exploited the trust of the public and investors to build his empire on a foundation of deceit." His final words thundered like a storm, unyielding and fierce, and the crowd erupted in murmurs, heads shaking, suspicion creeping through the air like a toxic fog. The lawyer didn't stop there. He raised the stack of documents high, letting the light catch the crisp white pages filled with tiny, damning print, as if they were living proof beyond dispute. "Here are emails Musk sent to his engineers," he continued, his tone dripping with theatrical flair, "ordering them to replicate Titan Corp's technical specs, with explicit notes saying, 'We need to move fast before they catch on.' Here are blueprints he personally altered, copying every detail from our technology. And this," he paused, pulling a small CD from the stack and holding it aloft like a trophy, "is a recording of Musk himself, admitting he drew inspiration from Victor Stahl." He slammed the documents onto the table with a dramatic thud, a final hammer blow sealing Elon's coffin, then turned to the judge with a confident stare, as if he'd just delivered the closing act of a flawless play. Elon didn't flinch. He stood still, hands in his pockets, eyes narrowing as if watching a wounded beast thrash before its end. A faint half-smile flickered across his face, not fear, but disdain, as if the accusations were a cheap comedy unworthy of his attention. He let Titan's lawyer finish his performance, let the crowd's murmurs spread, let Stahl's eyes, now alight with triumph, bore into him like they could devour him whole. Only when the tide seemed fully turned toward Titan Corp, when the air grew thick with doubt and anger, did Elon look up. His gaze swept the room, from the judge's rigid face, past Stahl's smug grin, to the press row where reporters scribbled furiously, pens racing across paper with an almost audible hiss. "They say I stole their technology," he began, his voice low and deliberate, each word weighed before it left his lips. "But they forget one thing. I don't need to steal what I created myself." The murmurs swelled, rippling through the room like waves in a once-still lake struck by a boulder. Some in the crowd scoffed, dismissing it as a weak excuse. Others fell silent, waiting, their eyes flickering with faint hope that Elon held something up his sleeve. He raised a hand, signaling quiet, and the room obeyed instantly, as if he were a king commanding his court, a control born not of words, but of presence. "Let me tell you a story," he said, his tone steady, yet laced with an irresistible force, like a storyteller unveiling an ancient tome of secrets, "about an old friend who betrayed me years ago." The courtroom held its breath as Elon began. He spoke not with anger or bitterness, but with a chilling calm, as if he'd transcended emotion to stand atop the truth, gazing down at all with the eyes of a man who'd foreseen the end. He recounted their early days in Silicon Valley, working side by side in a ramshackle garage with 2 rickety wooden tables and a handful of outdated computers. They'd dreamed of a future where clean energy reshaped the world, where cars ran without gas and cities breathed free of smog. Long nights hunched over drafting tables, cold coffee cups littering the floor, fiery debates about turning dreams into reality. All came alive in his words, vivid enough for the audience to smell the mix of machine oil and damp wood, hear the drills whine as they tested early battery prototypes, and feel the biting chill of pre-dawn mornings when the sun had yet to rise, when they huddled by a small heater to warm, numb hands. "We were brothers once," Elon said, his voice dipping into a near lament, tinged with nostalgia but devoid of weakness, sketching the first designs of what would become Tesla's battery tech. "I was the one sitting there, calculating every spec, testing every prototype until they worked. Victor was there too, but he wasn't a creator. He was an opportunist. He loved to talk, to persuade, to stand before a crowd and take credit. When I perfected the idea, when the first battery hummed with stable power, he left. No goodbye, no explanation. He just vanished, taking my concepts in his head and the notes I'd shared with him during those long nights. He used them to build Titan Corp, to make himself a billionaire, while I stayed in that garage, kept working, kept dreaming." Stahl leapt up, his face twisted with rage, slamming his fists on the table with a resounding boom that echoed like thunder on a clear day. "Lies!" he roared, his voice hoarse like a cornered animal. "You've got no proof, Musk. It's all the empty talk of a failure scrambling to save his reputation before it crashes down. You think anyone's going to buy this you caught red-handed?" He jabbed a finger at Elon, trembling with fury, his eyes blazing as if to burn his rival on the spot. The crowd buzzed, some nodding in agreement with Stahl, their gazes shifting from doubt to contempt as they fixed on Elon. But Elon only smiled, a cold, razor-sharp smile, free of fear or wavering. He raised the USB higher, its metallic surface glinting like a beacon amid the storm of doubt and accusation. "Proof?" he said, his tone soft yet menacing, like a chess player flipping the final card. "I've got more than you could ever hope for, Victor. And I'll show the world, not just to save my reputation, but to let them know the truth about you, about Titan Corp, and about what really happened back in those early days." The trial dragged on for hours, then days, each minute a blade slicing deeper into the minds of those watching. Titan Corp pressed their assault relentlessly, like an army determined to raze everything in its path. They unleashed a flood of evidence, hacked Tesla emails printed page by page with clear timestamps, blueprints allegedly matching their tech, with handwritten notes they claimed were Elon's, and an audio recording they insisted was Elon admitting to borrowing Stahl's ideas. In the recording, his familiar low voice crackled through static, a ghost from the past. Victor had some good ideas. I just optimized them. No big deal. As the tape ended, the courtroom exploded into chaos. The crowd jeered, shouts ringing from every corner, drowning the judge's gavel as he struggled to restore order. Reporters typed frantically, sweat rolling down their foreheads as they raced to capture the collapse unfolding. Stahl sank back into his seat, his grin wider than ever, like a predator savoring the scent of blood in the air. Public opinion teetered, a massive ship rocked by waves. On social media, Sheikh Elon the Thief spread like wildfire, millions of posts brimming with accusations and disillusionment, from ardent fans to longtime skeptics. "I trusted him," one wrote, "but he's just a thief." "Tesla's been a scam from the start," another commented with a crying emoji. Tesla's stock plummeted, billions evaporating from the market in hours, like smoke dissipating in the wind. Admirers, young engineers dreaming of Mars, investors banking on his vision, turned away, branding him a fraud in a genius's guise, a man who'd duped them with promises of a future. Global media pounced, headlines escalating daily. Elon Musk, from hero to traitor. Tesla's collapse, the truth behind the glamour. One paper ran Elon's photo with Thief of the Century in bold, paired with a plummeting red stock chart. The pressure bore down on Elon like a mountain, but he sat there in his plain gray suit, listening to each charge with an impassive face, his deep eyes peering into a world beyond anyone else's sight. No panic, no anger, just stillness, like a lake before the real storm hit. He didn't rush to rebut, didn't leap up to defend himself as Stahl or anyone else might. Each day, as Titan's lawyer rose with fresh documents and accusations, Elon stayed silent, twirling the USB between his long fingers, a chess master awaiting his rival's final move before striking. The crowd whispered, voices spreading like wind through dry branches. "Why isn't he saying anything?" one murmured to a neighbor. "Is he out of moves?" another replied, voice thick with doubt. "Or does he have something up his sleeve?" A third chimed in, eyes flickering with faint hope. Those who'd once believed in Elon, engineers who'd toiled with him through hundreds of sleepless nights, investors who'd staked fortunes on his vision, sat in the back rows, their gazes wavering between doubt and faith. They recalled Tesla's early days, when it was just a mad idea in an eccentric man's head, when no one thought electric cars could change the world. They remembered Elon standing before them, his low voice burning with passion, speaking of a future free of oil, where kids could grow up in a world without smog. They'd trusted him, followed him, and now they wondered if it was all a lie, or if he still held a final card to prove their faith wasn't misplaced. On the second day, Titan Corp doubled down. They called a witness, a former Tesla engineer, a wiry man with graying hair and shifty eyes. He took the stand, voice trembling as he claimed Elon ordered him to copy Titan's tech. "He told me it was the only way Tesla could get ahead," the engineer said, gripping the stand's edge as if to keep from collapsing. "I didn't want to, but he was the boss. I had no choice." The crowd buzzed, jeers rising again, and Stahl laughed aloud, his eyes gleaming like a man striking gold in ashes. Titan's lawyer turned to Elon, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Mr. Musk, any response to this testimony? Or will you keep silent like a guilty man?" Elon looked up, locking eyes with the engineer. His gaze held no anger, no contempt, just a stillness, like a man reading a book whose ending he already knew. "How long did you work with me?" he asked, his voice low and slow, like a father speaking to a son. The engineer faltered, stammering. Three years. And in those 3 years," Elon pressed, "did you ever see me ask anyone to do something against their morals?" The engineer bowed his head, silent, lips pressed tight as if wrestling within. The crowd waited, breathless, but Elon didn't push. He turned to the judge, voice soft. "I don't need to counter a lie when the truth will speak for itself." The third day brought an unexpected turn, a ray piercing a pitch-black sky. As morning sunlight streamed through the courtroom's high windows, casting golden patches on the floor, a woman entered. Her legs trembled, each step a battle against fear, but her eyes burned with steely resolve, blazing with unshakable determination. Dressed in a thin gray coat, her blonde hair tied neatly back, she took the stand, and the room fell so quiet a pin's drop would have echoed, a heavy, expectant silence. She introduced herself as Anna Voss, Victor Stahl's former personal assistant, who'd worked by his side for 5 years, privy to every shadow of Titan Corp. The crowd held its breath as she spoke, her voice shaky but clear, each word a bullet aimed at the plaintiff's bench, piercing the perfect facade Stahl had built. "That recording is fake," she declared, gripping the stand's edge to steady herself, nails scraping the wood with faint screeches. "I was there when they edited it. Victor threatened me, forced me to stay silent, said if I talked I'd lose everything, my job, my family, my life. He said no one would believe me, that I was just a lowly assistant with no voice." Her voice cracked as she recalled the threats, but she pressed on, like a soldier fighting to her last breath. The courtroom erupted in gasps, reporters scribbling furiously, pens streaking ink across pages. Stahl slammed the table, his face contorted with rage, eyes bloodshot like a wounded beast. "She's lying," he bellowed, jabbing a finger at her as if to rip her apart, his voice screeching like metal on metal. "She's been bought. This is Musk's sham, a cheap trick to fool us all." He turned to the judge, voice thick with sarcasm and scorn. "Your Honor, she's got no proof, nothing but empty words. I demand her testimony be stricken now." But Anna didn't falter. She drew a deep breath, hands trembling but eyes unwavering. "I wasn't just there when they faked the recording," she said, her voice growing steadier, like a woman reclaiming her strength. "I was there when Victor met with Titan Corp's engineers, when he ordered them to copy tech from blueprints he'd stolen from Elon years ago. I heard him say, 'Musk'll never know. He's too busy with his crazy dreams.' I saw him laugh, bragging about how he'd taken a friend's idea and made it his own. I stayed silent because I was scared. Scared of losing my job, scared of being ruined. But I can't live with that lie anymore." She paused, her gaze shifting to Elon, and in that moment, the room seemed to shrink, leaving just the two of them, a small woman with a mighty heart and an eccentric man with a dream bigger than the world. "I saw him," she said, voice breaking, tears streaming down her cheeks, glinting under the courtroom lights. "Mr. Musk, working day and night, sleepless, relentless, to change the world. I saw him alone in his office, sketching new designs, crunching numbers no one else could fathom, just to make his dream real. And Victor just wanted to tear it all down to feed his ego, to prove he was bigger, better." Elon rose, stepping toward Anna, and time seemed to halt. He met her eyes, his deep gaze flashing a rare spark, not gratitude, but respect, recognition for someone who'd dared to defy the dark. "So why speak the truth now?" he asked, his voice gentle yet sharp as a blade, probing her soul with each word. Anna bowed her head, tears splashing onto the wooden floor, tiny plinks in the silence. "Because I couldn't live with the guilt anymore," she whispered, her voice shattering like a bursting dam. "I couldn't watch him be destroyed by lies I helped hide. I couldn't let Victor win, couldn't let the world think he, a man who sacrificed everything, is a fraud." Emotion flooded the room like a tidal wave. Some wiped tears, moved by Anna's raw courage. Others shook their heads, skeptical of a staged act to salvage Elon's name. Those who'd trusted him sat in the back, heads bowed, fists clenched, wondering if they should keep believing in this man. The judge banged his gavel, calling for order, but the sound drowned in the crowd's ceaseless buzz, like wind through a withered forest. But the drama didn't end there. As Anna left the stand, she vanished. No one knew where she'd gone. No trace, no word, as if she'd never stood in that room. A court staffer, a small man with round glasses, reported she'd exited through a side door right after testifying, moving hurriedly, but no cameras caught her departure. Reporters rushed outside, searching, but met only shakes of the head from security guards. Stahl pounced, leaping up with a mix of triumph and fury like a beast spotting a chance to strike back. "She's an actress," he roared, pointing at Elon with a trembling finger. "Musk hired her to dupe us all. This proves his desperation, a cheap game to mislead the court and the public." He turned to the judge, voice dripping with mockery. "Your Honor, I demand Anna Voss's testimony be tossed out now. It's fake, no evidence, just the paid tears of a liar." The public split again, a river cleaved by a boulder. Some bought Stahl's claim. Seeing Anna as a pawn in Elon's scheme, an actress hired to tug heartstrings and sway opinion. "I've seen these tricks before," a middle-aged man in the crowd muttered to his neighbor. "He's a master manipulator." Others questioned Titan Corp, wondering why Anna vanished after spilling the truth. Was she threatened, abducted, or fleeing Stahl's wrath? Media fueled the fire, rumors splashing everywhere like stones in a pond. Anna Voss, mystery witness or hired liar. Elon Musk stages drama to save Tesla. Some papers ran her photo with "The Vanishing Woman" in bold, paired with wild theories of kidnapping by Elon to silence her. The pressure on Elon intensified, a black sky threatening to pour rain on his head. But he sat calmly, twirling the USB between his long fingers, eyes distant as if peering into a future beyond their grasp. No panic, no despair, just stillness, like a man atop a peak watching a storm approach unafraid. He murmured to his assistant, Sarah, a young woman with short chestnut hair and razor-sharp eyes who'd stood by him through every rise and fall, "They want to play this game, Sarah. They think they've backed me into a corner. But they don't know I'm ready to play bigger than anything they can imagine." Sarah gazed at him, her eyes flickering with worry and admiration. She'd seen Elon at his darkest, when Tesla teetered on bankruptcy, when stocks crashed, when the world turned its back. She recalled nights he sat alone in his office, the computer's glow on his gaunt face, scribbling numbers and sketches no one else understood. She remembered him addressing his team, his low voice ablaze, speaking of a future where humans lived not just on Earth but on Mars, where energy wasn't a tool of power but a right for all. "You sure?" she asked, voice soft but weighty. "Certain," Elon replied, that half-smile flickering. "They haven't seen anything yet." The fourth day, Titan Corp pressed harder, a wounded beast still ferocious to the end. They called another witness, a sound analysis expert, a tall man with a square jaw and a voice deep as a church bell. He took the stand, holding a thick report, claiming the recording of Elon was impossible to fake, based on waveform and frequency analysis. "I've checked every detail," he said, voice brimming with confidence. "No signs of editing or splicing. This is Mr. Musk's voice, unmistakable." The crowd erupted again, jeers crashing like waves, and Stahl laughed, slamming his hand on the table like a man tasting final victory. Titan's lawyer approached Elon, eyes gleaming with triumph. "Mr. Musk," he said, voice thick with sarcasm, "our experts confirm the recording's real. Anything to say, or will you keep silent like a man with no escape?" The crowd hushed, eyes locking on Elon like spotlights on a trapped animal, but he only looked up, meeting the lawyer's gaze with eyes cold as ice. "Your expert can say what he likes," he said, voice low and slow, "but truth isn't in waveforms or frequencies. It's in what really happened, and I'll show you." The fifth day arrived, and the storm broke, a volcano erupting after centuries of slumber. Sunlight bathed the room in faint gold, but the air crackled with tension, electric and heavy. Stahl rose, his face alight with the certainty of a man on the cusp of triumph, eyes wild like a madman glimpsing salvation. He signaled his lawyer, and a video played on the courtroom's large screen, an old, silver-rimmed monitor, its image sharp enough to chill the room. The footage showed Elon in a Tesla lab, surrounded by cutting-edge equipment, cold white light bathing his gaunt face. He held a gleaming metallic battery, small yet radiating power almost tangible through the screen. He tested it, checked readings on a tablet, and smiled. A rare smile the world seldom saw, seemingly undeniable proof. The battery matched Titan Corp's tech, from its sleek curves to the performance stats on screen. A perfect copy, flawless. The camera zoomed on his hands, on how he held it with a creator's confidence, then cut to him setting it down, eyes glinting with satisfaction. The crowd roared, shouts echoing off the walls, drowning the judge's frantic gavel. Stahl laughed, leaping up and pointing at Elon like a hunter with prey in sight, his finger trembling with glee. "Caught red-handed," he bellowed, voice triumphant like a death knell. "This is the final proof. He's done. No more excuses, no more tricks. The world's seen who he is." Tesla's stock hit rock bottom that morning, billions vanishing in minutes, a ship sinking to the ocean floor. Headlines blazed red across screens. Elon Musk, thief of the century. Tesla's end, the truth in the video. Even Elon's fiercest loyalists, engineers who'd burned midnight oil with him, investors who'd bet all on his Mars dream, wavered, their eyes clouded with betrayal. Elon sat still, silent. His gaze swept the room, lingering on Stahl's maniacal grin, then the judge clutching his head in despair. He let the crowd's jeers fill the air, let Stahl's taunts ring out, let chaos spread like a tidal wave. He let it all happen, a chess master waiting for his rival to exhaust their pieces. Those who'd believed in him watched from the back, fists clenched, palms slick with sweat, wondering if this was the end for the man they'd seen as innovation's icon, or if he had a path out of the dark. Finally, as all seemed lost, as the mob outside roared loud enough to shake the building, as the world seemed to convict him, Elon stood. He walked to the room's center, slow and steady, a soldier stepping onto the battlefield with his last weapon, not to surrender but to fight to his final breath. He activated a hidden screen, unnoticed until now, tucked behind a small curtain, as if he'd planned this moment long before the trial began. The footage appeared, crisp and chilling, silencing the room. Victor Stahl in a sealed room with dark glass walls, speaking to shadowy figures in black suits, their faces obscured, but voices unmistakable. Stahl's voice boomed through the speakers, cold and clear as a blade slicing air. "Musk thinks he's clever, but I took his tech years ago, back when we worked together. I kept it, refined it, made it Titan Corp's. This lawsuit's just to finish him, to keep him down for good." The crowd froze, jeers cut mid-breath, and Stahl went pale, a ghost of himself, eyes wide with unmasked panic. But there was more. The video rolled on, Stahl's voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "We need this tech to control the energy market. It's not just money, it's power. The government's in. They'll back us, as long as Musk's gone. He's the biggest threat and we can't let him keep going." The footage cut to Stahl shaking hands with a man in a black suit, face blurred but tall and imposing, his low voice a lethal murmur. "Make sure this lawsuit buries him. If it fails, we've got other ways, quieter but effective." Chaos erupted, a volcano bursting after eons of sleep. Stahl screamed, lunging at the screen as if to smash it bare-handed, his face twisted in madness, but security pinned him down, dragging him back to his seat, hands shaking. The mob outside shifted from boos to cheers, their shouts shaking the walls. Reporters leapt up, cameras whirring, flashes popping like a frenzied storm capturing history. The judge collapsed into his chair, hands on his head, eyes wide with disbelief, his face ashen as if waking from a nightmare turned real. But Elon wasn't done. He approached the judge, raising the USB again, its gleam a final warning, a small flame with power to burn all. "This isn't just proof against Stahl," he said, his voice low, each word a hammer strike, sharp and unrelenting. "It's the truth about us all, about what really happens behind closed doors, about those who think they can rule the world with lies and power." He paused, eyes sweeping the room, from Stahl, now cowering like a beaten man, to the crowd, the reporters, and finally the judge. "I'm not here to save my reputation," he said, his voice rising like a proclamation. "I'm here to show you that truth always finds its way to the light, and no one, nothing, can stop it." The screen flared again, revealing the unthinkable. Stahl wasn't alone. He'd conspired with high-ranking officials, the suits in the video, plotting to use the battery tech to dominate global energy, a weapon of economic and political might beyond anything before. Recorded secret meetings showed low voices debating market control, eliminating obstacles, ensuring Elon Musk, the only man mad and brilliant enough to defy them, was erased. Backroom deals flashed on screen, massive sums funneled through hidden accounts, detailed plans unfolding, each line a dagger in the public's trust. One clip showed Stahl in a lavish room, warm golden light on his face as he spoke to another man. Tall, voice deep, face shadowed. "Musk is the biggest problem," Stahl said, his tone icy. "He's not just an inventor, he's a threat. If we don't stop him, Tesla will kill everything we've built. His tech could make oil obsolete, nuclear plants outdated. We can't let that happen." The other man nodded, his voice a deadly whisper. "We'll handle him. The lawsuit's step one. If it flops, we've got other methods, discreet but final." The courtroom became a maelstrom, a storm sweeping all in its path. Stahl was cuffed on the spot, hands trembling, his pale face a hollow shell, eyes vacant as if he'd lost everything. He screamed as they hauled him out, voice raw. "This isn't true, it's a setup." But no one listened. The crowd outside chanted Elon's name, a victory anthem shaking the building. Tesla's stock soared back in minutes, a phoenix rising from collapse to new heights. The judge, after a stunned silence, banged his gavel, but the sound was feeble, lost in the crowd's roar and reporters' frantic typing. He slumped back, hands on his head, face pale as if he'd seen a nightmare come alive. Investors in the room exchanged glances, eyes flickering between shock and thrill. Shock at the exposed plot. Thrill knowing Tesla, led by Elon, wasn't just alive but stronger than ever. But Elon didn't celebrate. He stood amid the chaos, eyes distant, seeing beyond the moment, a man fresh from battle yet aware of wars ahead. He said nothing more, ignoring the crowd's cheers and the press's flashes. He walked out silently, leaving the pandemonium behind, his tall frame fading into the crimson sunset outside. The cool evening air wrapped around him as he stepped into it, but his eyes still burned, not with the joy of victory, but with the resolve of a man who knew the real fight was just beginning. The sunset blazed crimson across the horizon, bathing Elon Musk's lanky silhouette in fiery hues as he stepped out of the courthouse. Above, the sky seemed to ignite, clouds streaked with vibrant orange and deep purple by the day's fading light, crafting a scene both majestic and ominous, as if painted by a divine hand to mark this historic moment. A cool evening breeze swept through, carrying the sharp chill of dusk, swirling around his simple gray suit and tousling the stray locks of hair across his forehead. The crowd's cheers roared like ocean waves, a chaotic yet vibrant sound that drowned out the distant hum of traffic and the blaring horns of news vans clustered around the building. Signs of accusation had vanished, replaced by banners of praise hoisted high, trembling with each shouted chant, "Elon, the true hero. Tesla lives forever." Reporters swarmed, microphones thrust upward like spears, camera flashes erupting in a relentless storm of blinding light. But Elon didn't pause, didn't glance back. He walked on, his polished black shoes clicking steadily on the pavement, his face expressionless, his deep eyes gazing into a universe beyond anyone else's reach. a cosmos of dreams, plans, and battles yet to be fought. Outside the courthouse, the atmosphere boiled like a cauldron on the verge of overflowing. The crowd gathered for hours, some Tesla fans in logoed T-shirts, others curious onlookers eager to witness an icon's downfall, now merged into a sea of people cheering relentlessly. Their shouts rang out like a triumphant anthem, shaking the concrete walls of the building, rattling the thick glass windows that had seen countless trials before. A group of young men perched atop a van, waving a hand-painted sign, "Elon is the future," while others pumped fists, yelling his name as if he weren't just a man, but a god emerging from legend. News vans, emblazoned with bright paint and logos of giants like CNN, BBC, and Bloomberg, lined up bumper to bumper, their headlights sweeping the crowd like lighthouses in the dark. Reporters darted back and forth, sweat streaking their faces, voices hoarse as they shouted into mics, desperate to beam this moment live to millions worldwide. Elon Musk has just exited the courthouse after an unimaginable victory, a female reporter yelled, her hair whipping in the wind. Victor Stahl's been arrested, and the world's waiting to see what happens next. The scene was electric, chaotic, alive with the raw energy of a turning point. Police barricades strained against the press of bodies, officers in dark uniforms barking orders to maintain a semblance of control, their voices lost in the cacophony. A helicopter buzzed overhead, its blades chopping the air, a news crew filming the swelling mass below, a bird's-eye view of history unfolding. Street vendors seized the moment, hawking hastily printed T-shirts with slogans like "Musk Triumphs" and "Tesla Rising," their calls blending with the crowd's chants. A young girl, no older than 10, stood on her father's shoulders waving a small Tesla flag, her voice shrill but fierce. "We love you, Elon!" Nearby, an older man in a worn jacket shook his head, muttering to no one, "He's either a genius or the devil himself. Maybe both." The air thrummed with anticipation, a collective pulse racing as if the world itself had paused to watch this man step into the twilight, his shadow stretching long across the pavement. Inside the courthouse, the chaos lingered like the aftershocks of a storm. Victor Stahl, hands cuffed tightly behind him, was hauled out a side exit by two burly security guards, his expensive leather shoes dragging across the wooden floor with a grating screech. His face, once brimming with arrogance and triumph, was now ashen, a living corpse, his sunken eyes radiating the despair of a man who'd lost everything in a heartbeat. He screamed as they shoved him into a police car, his voice raw and jagged, cutting through the air like wind howling through an abandoned house. "This isn't over, Musk. I'll come back. I'll make you pay with your blood." But his cries were swallowed by the piercing wail of sirens and the crowd's jeers, now branding him the villain of this century's saga. A man who'd stood atop power and wealth, now a broken shadow dragged to his own hell. The guards, faces cold and uniforms gleaming black, didn't spare him a glance, executing their duty with machine-like precision, shoving him into the back seat and slamming the door with a resounding bang, a final punctuation to his ambitions. The judge, an aging man with tangled silver hair, slumped in his high seat, hands cradling his head as if the weight of what had transpired was too much to bear. His eyes stared blankly ahead, lost in a void, as though he'd just witnessed a nightmare beyond his wildest imagining. The wooden gavel lay still on the bench, unused, a symbol of his impotence against the truth Elon had unveiled. That tiny USB, a seemingly harmless object, hadn't just overturned the case, it had torn apart the veil hiding a conspiracy larger than anyone had dared to fathom. A dark shadow sprawling through corridors of power, sealed offices, and secret deals whispered about only in hushed tones even among insiders. He sighed, a heavy, weary sound, as if he'd aged decades in mere hours, and bowed his head to the desk, trembling hands shielding his face. Outside, the world reacted at breakneck speed. News spread like wildfire across a dry plain, from Times Square's towering screens to small TVs in Tokyo cafes. Headlines blazed across every channel, website, and app. Elon Musk cleared, Victor Stahl arrested in global plot, Tesla rises from ashes after trial of the century. Tesla's stock, hours ago at its lowest ever, surged back with dizzying speed, shattering past records like a phoenix soaring from ruin. Investors cheered in sleek Wall Street offices, applause and shouts erupting as they watched stock charts shift from red to green, each upward curve a sign of new life for Tesla. On social media, Cheer Elon Vindicated stormed the internet, millions of posts flooding from every corner of the globe, transforming Elon from pariah to unyielding icon. "I never doubted him," a Twitter user wrote, attaching a photo of Elon outside the courthouse. "This is the victory of truth," another commented, with hundreds of fire and heart emojis. Yet not everyone celebrated. In the dim corners of bars, locked offices, and anonymous online forums, whispers of doubt persisted, slithering like venomous snakes through the grass. Some insisted it was all a perfectly staged play, that Elon, with his superhuman intellect, had orchestrated everything from start to finish to cement his dominion and make Tesla untouchable. "He's too smart to get caught," a man in a gray suit murmured to a colleague in a London pub, his tone thick with suspicion. "Everything we saw, Anna Voss, that video, could be his setup." On a hidden forum, a user named TruthSeeker99 posted a lengthy rant. "Don't you see? This is a bigger game. Musk didn't just beat Stahl. He's playing chess with the world, and we're just pawns." These murmurs spread, quiet but persistent, like water dripping on stone, not enough to shift the tide, but enough to plant seeds of doubt in minds primed for conspiracy. As the world buzzed, Elon returned to Tesla's Texas headquarters, far from the city's chaos and the crowd's roars. The massive glass building, its solar panels shimmering under moonlight, stood like an impregnable fortress amid vast plains, surrounded by parched fields and dusty roads stretching to the horizon. He entered through the main doors, his footsteps echoing in the wide hallway, the cold white LED lights casting a stark glow on his gaunt face, highlighting sharp features and eyes deep as black holes swallowing light. He didn't stop to speak to anyone. Not the late-working engineers, not the guards nodding in greeting, heading straight to his private office, a sprawling yet stark space, a testament to his relentless focus. The room held only essentials: an old wooden desk scarred from endless work nights, a large computer screen displaying complex technical curves, and a starship model in the corner, a silent symbol of his grander dream. Bare walls, no art, no awards, just harsh minimalism like a monastery for a man devoted not to faith but to the future. He sank into an old swivel chair, a faint creak sounding as it tilted back, and rested his hands on the desk, one still twirling the USB, the key to it all, his gaze distant, peering into a future beyond others' reach. Sarah, his assistant, stepped in, holding a steaming black coffee, vapor curling in the room's chill. A young woman with short chestnut hair and razor-sharp eyes, she wore a simple black jacket exuding unmissable professionalism. She'd stood by Elon through every peak and pit, from Tesla's near bankruptcy to Starship's triumphant test flights. "You did it," she said, her voice low but thick with emotion, as if she'd witnessed an unbelievable miracle. "The whole world's talking about you. They're calling you a hero, the greatest survivor of this century." Elon didn't reply at once. He sipped the coffee, its bitterness spreading across his tongue, stirring distant memories of Silicon Valley days fueled by caffeine and grit. He set the mug down with a soft clack, the sound crisp in the quiet, a tiny note in the symphony of thoughts ringing in his mind. "The world's always talking about me," he said, his tone deep, tinged with fatigue but unwavering. "But they don't get it. This isn't victory. It's just the first step. A small move in a bigger plan. A battle they haven't seen the full scope of." Sarah frowned, tilting her head, her eyes flickering with curiosity and concern, as if she'd heard a secret she wasn't ready to grasp. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice soft but weighty, sensing the answer would shift everything. Elon raised a hand, a gentle yet commanding gesture for silence. He stood, walking to the vast window overlooking the nearby SpaceX launch site, where floodlights bathed the Starship in assembly, its metal hull a silver flame in the black night. He stood there, hands in pockets, his tall silhouette etched against the glass like a living statue in the stillness. "We're not done," he whispered more to himself than to Sarah. Victor Stahl was just a pawn. There are more enemies than him. Bigger, more dangerous, waiting in the shadows. Sarah stepped closer, stopping a few feet away, her gaze fixed on his back, trying to read the thoughts behind that silence. She knew Elon didn't speak idly. Every word carried deep meaning, each sentence a piece of a vast puzzle only he saw whole. "What do you think they'll do next?" she asked, her voice dropping as if fearing her words might summon phantoms from the dark. Elon turned his head slightly, just enough for the window's light to catch one side of his face, highlighting his deep eyes and a fleeting half-smile. "They won't stop," he said, his tone certain as a prophecy. "They can't stop. I've broken their plan, but that's just the surface. Beneath it is a bigger web, and I won't rest until it's torn apart completely." The room fell silent, save for their steady breaths and the faint whistle of wind through the window's edge. Sarah watched him, feeling the weight of his words, but also something else. A fire that never dimmed in this man, a flame that had carried him through the darkest days and now burned brighter than ever. She said nothing more, quietly setting the coffee on the desk and slipping out, leaving Elon with his thoughts, the tiny USB in his hand, and the colossal dream in his mind. The next day, the story, thought concluded, flared anew, like a flame fed fresh oxygen from an unexpected source. A New York Times investigative team published a sprawling exposé, dense with details and evidence, revealing that the high-ranking officials in Elon's video weren't just Stahl's cronies, they were part of a clandestine group codenamed Eclipse. The report claimed Eclipse had operated in the shadows for decades, manipulating global energy markets, oil, nuclear, gas, coal, to preserve the power of a select few anonymous tycoons pulling the modern world's strings. Tesla's battery tech, capable of rewriting how humanity harnessed energy, was their greatest threat, a blade that could sever the ropes they used to control the globe. Titan Corp's lawsuit, it turned out, wasn't just Stahl's vendetta. It was Eclipse's desperate bid to crush Elon before he could dismantle their monopoly, before he could lay the foundation for an era where energy wasn't a weapon of the rich, but a resource for all. The exposé shocked the world, a bomb detonating in a clear sky. The public reeled, confronted with black and white lines exposing a truth they'd never dared imagine. Governments scrambled, launching probes from Washington to Brussels, Beijing to Moscow, closed-door meetings held in windowless rooms where men and women in dark suits debated responses to this earthquake. Elon Musk's name again dominated every conversation, from coffee shop tables to tense international summits. Some hailed him as a hero, the lone warrior against power's darkness. "He's the Robin Hood of our time," a CNN commentator said, voice thick with emotion. "A man willing to sacrifice everything for our future." Others branded him an opportunist, a chess master exploiting the trial to bolster his legend and make Tesla invincible. "He's no hero," a Guardian editorial argued. "He's a manipulator, and we're just spectators in his play." Elon cared little for the chatter, praise, or critique. He appeared at a rare SpaceX press conference, standing before a throng of reporters in his familiar gray suit, icy eyes scanning each face as if reading their thoughts. The launch site behind him glowed with floodlights on the Starship, a symbol of the dream he'd never abandon. Cameras trained on him from every angle, flashes popping, but he stood unmoved, a statue amid the media storm. "I'm not here for political games," he said, voice low and firm, each word a hammer strike on wood. "I'm not here to please anyone or justify myself. I'm here to build the future, A future where humans aren't prisoners to those who think they can control everything. If anyone wants to stop me, go ahead and try. He paused, a half-smile flickering with defiance and resolve, a challenge to the world. But they won't win, he finished, then turned and walked away, leaving the reporters with unanswered questions and millions of viewers with racing hearts. The following days were a whirlwind, an epic written at breakneck speed. Protests erupted globally, from New York's packed streets to Tokyo's vast squares, London's rainy boulevards to Mumbai's sweltering slums. Thousands flooded out, waving signs, "Truth for Elon," "Stop Eclipse," their chants echoing off skyscrapers and narrow alleys, a chorus of rage and hope. In Paris, students lit campfires in Place de la République, singing freedom songs, while in São Paulo, workers rallied before City Hall, fists raised, shouting Elon's name as a symbol against oppression. Environmental activists lauded him as a standard-bearer in the fight against corporate greed, a man daring to dream of a greener, cleaner planet where future generations could breathe free. Meanwhile, Tesla didn't stand still. 2 days post-trial, they unveiled a breakthrough kept secret until the perfect moment. A new battery. Smaller, cheaper, more powerful, capable of powering a city with a single unit. No complex grids or costly infrastructure needed. The announcement streamed live from Tesla's headquarters, Elon standing before a giant battery model, its light casting a halo on his face. "This isn't just a battery," he said, voice resonating through speakers. "It's a promise that energy isn't a privilege for the rich, but a right for everyone." The online crowd exploded, millions of comments flooding screens. "Genius." "Thank you, Elon," while investors worldwide clapped, knowing Tesla wasn't just surviving, it was spearheading a revolution. But in the shadows, a new threat coiled, silent and ruthless as a viper in tall grass. Late one night, as Elon worked alone in his office, the computer screen's blue glow the sole light on his weary face, an anonymous email popped up. No subject, no signature, just a terse line in plain font, cold as ice. "You think you've won, but the game's not over." Attached was a photo, taken from afar. Elon at his office window, his tall frame stark against the glass, captured from a hidden angle in the dark where light couldn't reach, as if someone had lurked there for hours awaiting the perfect shot. He stared at the screen, fingers tightening on the desk's edge, nails scraping wood with faint screeches. But his face showed no fear, only a cold glint in his eyes, like a wolf scenting prey. "Fine," he whispered, voice low as a declaration to the void. "Come and get me. I'm ready." The tale seemed poised to close, but the real drama was just igniting, a book flipping to its darkest chapter. A week after the trial, the world shuddered again with an unforeseen event. A massive explosion rocked a secret Tesla research facility in Nevada, far from bustling roads and city lights. Flames roared through the desert, a black smoke pillar soaring hundreds of feet, blending with the night sky like a curse scrawled in fire and ash. Dozens of workers were injured, their screams mingling with the fire's roar and secondary blasts from destroyed equipment. News swept through like a tsunami, headlines flashing red. "Tesla attacked. Who's behind the blast?" "Elon Musk faces new foe?" Investigators swarmed the smoldering wreckage, gloved hands sifting through debris for clues, uncovering traces of a homemade explosive. Not crude, but crafted with terrifying precision, a clear message. This wasn't an accident, but a declaration of war. Elon flew to the site that night, his helicopter landing amid the desert, rotor blades whipping sand into a small cyclone in the dark. He stepped out, gray suit now dusted with grit and smoke, standing amid the still-smoking ruins, his face shadowed under flickering rescue lights. Reporters gathered at the perimeter, blocked by security fences, shouted questions he ignored. "Mr. Musk, is this Titan Corp's revenge? Is Tesla safe?" He offered no statement, silently walking through twisted metal, shattered glass strewn across the sand, and charred wires sparking faintly like a machine's dying breaths. Sarah ran to his side, clutching a tablet with security data, eyes red from smoke and stress. "We lost critical equipment," she said, voice trembling, each word a struggle to stay calm. "Part of the lab's gone, but the core data's safe. They didn't get anything." Elon nodded, hands in pockets, staring at the black horizon where flames still danced like ghostly embers. He stood there amid the wreckage, the scene surreal. Black smoke curling skyward, red firelight reflecting on his gaunt face, the desert wind keening like a dirge. "They didn't want data," he said, voice a dark prophecy from deep within. "They wanted a message. They wanted me to fear, to stop." He turned to Sarah, eyes icy but steady. "But they don't get that I don't fear fire. I was forged in it, and I'll use it to reforge the world." In the days that followed, Elon worked relentlessly, a machine defying exhaustion or rest. He summoned Tesla and SpaceX's top engineers, turning the Texas headquarters into an impregnable fortress with doubled security. Infrared cameras scanning every shadow, drones patrolling silently overhead, high-voltage fences ringing the site, humming a warning to any who dared approach. He appeared on a global live stream, standing before a towering starship, its metal reflecting light onto his gaunt face like a survivor's halo. "They think fire and bombs can stop me," he said, voice booming through millions of screens, each word a blade through doubt. "But they forget I built this from nothing, from a garage and a dream. I don't fear destruction, I fear stagnation, and I won't stop, ever, until we stand on Mars, until energy's not a chain, but wings for humanity." His words blazed, reigniting faith from young engineers at Silicon Valley screens to kids watching on phones in remote villages. Tesla's stock, rocked by the blast, steadied, a ship weathering the fiercest storm to find safe harbor. But within Elon there was no satisfaction, only vigilance, a warrior knowing foes still lurked in the dark. Another late night, alone in his office with the computer's blue glow the only light, he reopened that cryptic email. The photo stared back, cold and menacing, a reminder that his enemies weren't just Stahl or Titan Corp, but something larger, deeper. He gazed at it, eyes narrowing as if seeking a hidden clue in its shadowed corners, beyond light's reach. Then he laughed, a short, dry laugh, rich with meaning, as if he'd caught a joke only he understood. He typed a swift reply. "I'm waiting. Come if you dare." The message vanished into the ether, but Elon knew his foes, whoever they were, would see it, would know he wasn't a man to break. The true climax struck one early morning, 2 weeks after the Nevada blast, as the sun peeked over the horizon, painting the Texas desert in faint gold. A driverless truck barreled into Tesla's Texas headquarters main gate, its speed blinding. As it hit the fence, a deafening explosion tore through, flames erupting like a roaring beast, engulfing the entrance and shaking the glass building. Glass shattered, debris flew, thick black smoke spiraling skyward like a death knell, visible miles away. But Elon's new defenses kicked in, steel shields snapped up from the ground containing the fire, and the internal response team, trained for this, quelled it with extinguishers and high-pressure water. Damage was limited, only the gate destroyed, a few windows shattered, but the message was stark. Elon's enemies weren't done, ready to escalate the war. Simultaneously, like a calculated double blow, a video hit social media from an anonymous account, traceless and nameless. It spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views in hours, a digital maelstrom. A distorted voice spoke, cold and menacing, an echo from a dead realm. "Elon Musk thinks he's humanity's savior, but he's an arrogant fool playing with fire. We are Eclipse, and we won't stop until he's erased from this world." Footage cut through the Nevada blast, security clips of black-clad figures moving silently in shadows, faces masked, motions precise as assassins. It ended with a symbol, a black circle slashed by a bright line, Eclipse's mark, a death seal on their declaration. Red text flared, "This is your final warning. Prepare." The world trembled again, the ground shaking anew. Eclipse, the shadowy group thought exposed, lived, stronger than ever, a venomous serpent freshly shed, fangs sharper. Government probes, sparked by the Times report, stalled. No trace of the masterminds, no bank accounts, names, clues, as if they were ghosts beyond reality. Public fear grew, Elon's victory thrill fading to unease, a dark cloud over fleeting light. Protests shifted from anger to worry, signs now reading, "Who will protect us? Who is Eclipse? What can Elon do?" echoing in the chill air. But Elon didn't flinch, not for a second. He gathered his team in an emergency meeting, standing in a vast room with hundreds of engineers and scientists who'd left families and sleep to be there, eyes weary yet resolute. Before a giant screen showing the latest blast, smoke still curling in the frame, he spoke, voice a battle cry. "They want war. We'll show them we don't just survive, we win. They think bombs and fire can break us, but they don't know we're forged from that. We won't back down, won't bow, we'll push forward, faster, stronger, until they've got nothing left to fight." He unveiled a bold, mad plan. Accelerate Starship, land humans on Mars not in years, but months. "We're not just building ships," he said, voice low but ablaze. "We're building a new civilization, a place Eclipse can't touch, where humanity can start anew, unbound by those who think they own the future." He pointed to the Starship image. "This is our answer. Not bombs, not war, but hope. And we'll do it. Not for me, but for us all." The engineers rose, applause thundering like a storm, drowning the wind outside. They weren't just staff. They were believers in Elon's dream, ready to stake their lives on it. But deep down, Elon knew this fight wasn't just about tech or Mars. It was a clash of light and dark, freedom and control. The ultimate twist, the story's greatest turn, came late one night, alone in his office, the computer's blue glow the sole light in the pitch-black space, a lone lamp in a sea of night. A secret call flashed on screen. No number, no name, just a pulsing signal like a summons from the dark. He clicked, and a familiar face appeared. Anna Voss, the woman who'd vanished after her testimony, presumed erased or fled forever. Her face was pallid, eyes red from hours of tears, blonde hair matted with sweat and dirt, yet her gaze held the same steel as when she faced the courtroom, a courage few possessed. "Elon," she said, voice quaking, each word a final effort to hold herself together. "I wasn't bought. I didn't disappear from fear. I worked for Eclipse." Time froze, the room shrinking to just Elon's breaths and the speaker's faint hum. He sat still, fingers gripping the desk, nails scraping wood with soft screeches, but his face stayed unmoved. No shock, no rage, just the eerie calm of a man who'd foreseen it all. A chess player spotting the final move dozens of turns ago. Anna pressed on, voice breaking in sobs, a dam bursting after years. "They forced me to be their witness, to ruin you from within. They knew you'd suspect Stahl, but not me. I was their pawn, planted to make you trust me as an innocent victim. But I couldn't go on, couldn't watch you destroyed by what I helped them do." She paused, drawing a ragged breath, trembling hands clutching her face to keep from shattering. "I sent you everything," she said, voice choked but resolute. "Data, names, their plans, all I could grab before I ran. It's in the last email I sent, encrypted in a file only you can open. They don't know I betrayed them. They think I'm still theirs, that I vanished to save myself. But I didn't do this for me. I did it for you, for what you stand for." She looked up, staring into the camera, red eyes blazing like fire. "I don't expect forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. But I want you to win. to destroy them, one by one, until nothing's left. The screen went black as the call ended, a door slamming shut on her final confession. Elon sat, eyes distant, gazing through space and time, through the office's glass walls to a horizon no one else could fathom. He opened Anna's last email, fingers flying across the keyboard, entering a long code only he knew. A massive file loaded, unfolding like a forbidden book decoded. Lists of Eclipse members, powerful names from politicians to CEOs shaping the modern world, recorded secret meetings, low voices plotting energy market control and obstacle elimination, and detailed plans to destroy him, not just with bombs and fire, but by shattering his reputation, Tesla, and the dream he'd spent a lifetime building. But within was a gem amid betrayal's ashes, blueprints for an unannounced energy tech beyond anything Tesla had made. Not just a battery, a miniature safe nuclear reactor, compact enough to hold, yet potent enough to power a planet without grids, fossil fuels, or anyone's control. This wasn't just an invention. It was a revolution, a key to forever change humanity's fate, an ultimate weapon against Eclipse and all foes lurking in the dark. Elon laughed, a long, resonant laugh echoing in the empty room, not of triumph but revelation, a man seeing light at a tunnel's end. He stood, stepping to the window, gazing at the night sky where stars twinkled like a waiting promise. He'd beaten Stahl, survived Eclipse's first strikes, and now, with this final secret, he wasn't just fighting for Tesla. He was fighting to shape humanity's future, to lift it beyond Earth, to Mars, and farther, to places no enemy could touch. The story closed with Elon at the SpaceX launch site, a starship lifting off, its engines fire blazing the night sky like a beacon in endless dark. The roar drowned all else, shaking the ground beneath him, a testament to the dream's might. The camera zoomed to his face, worn yet resolute, eyes alight with an unquenchable spark, a flame of a man who'd seen the endgame while the world stayed blind. He whispered, as if to the cosmos, to the stars above, "We're just getting started. This isn't the end. It's the dawn of a new era." The screen faded to black, leaving a final message in white letters on the void. The future doesn't wait. It's built by those who dare to dream, fight, and rise above all darkness.